Hey team. So I've got one for you. Apparently the HHS secretary is about to release a report blaming Tylenol use in pregnancy for autism diagnosis in the baby later on. And I want to break this down a little bit because the real story is not in the headline here. It's not about Tylenol. It's about study design and the way that the data is being misinterpreted with this team that has a very clear bias to make you scared and to basically put a stamp on the idea that they were going to come up with a cause of autism by September. So to be clear, I am not a Tylenol or autism expert, but I am trained to design, read, and critique research. It's literally what I do every day. It's also super interesting timing because I just gave a lecture to my students at Harvard on how to pick apart a study. Because opening an abstract on PubMed and scanning down to the conclusion isn't how we interpret research in the field, even though that seems to be exactly what the secretary and his team are doing here. Okay, so stay with me. Let's break down these studies because this is really important and it will help you tease out the truth in our current public health dumpster fire. So the claims in question are based on a population-based study. So first, it's important to know that population studies are designed to demonstrate associations. Some studies show a link and we dig further, but a link does not mean cause. A really good example, umbrellas pop up when it rains, but they don't cause the rain, right? Same idea. So let's look at the study. A 2025 study describes an association between Tylenol use and neurodevelopmental disorders like autism in 27 of the 46 studies that they reviewed. Now, that sounds pretty bad, I hear you, but a 2024 JAMA study did not demonstrate this association with acetaminophen and autism for pregnant patients. How can that be? How can two big studies show different things? Here's the difference. The 2025 study was a review of past papers, most without controls, which makes the associations weak, but still statistically significant. However, the 2024 study tracked nearly 2.5 million kids and used something called a sibling control. And when siblings were compared, the Tylenol link to autism disappeared. So now you're asking, what is a sibling control? All right, so in a sibling control study, if a mom takes Tylenol in one pregnancy but not in another, researchers then compare the siblings because they have the same parents, they've got pretty close to the same genes, they've been raised presumably in the same home, and when they do, the Tylenol autism link disappears, meaning that the babies that were born in the same family, whether or not the mom took Tylenol, had a greater chance of either both having autism or not. So this shows that it's likely genetics or family factors, not the actual medication. And this is what scientists call controlling for confounding, because hidden factors behind the Tylenol use itself could be more problematic. So for example, the mom might have taken Tylenol because they had a fever or they were in really significant pain. And those things might be actually driving the risk, not the drug itself. Now, none of these studies looked at that, so we're not able to tease that level out, but it's important to look at this because there's a reason that the mom was taking the Tylenol. So it's really important to not confuse association with causation, especially with specific study designs. When the study design is strong, as it was in the 2024 paper, the Tylenol autism story just doesn't hold up. So I'm hoping that by sharing with you how we interpret the data, you can start to make better decisions for yourself, your body, your family, their health. And that you're not just being driven by scary sounding headlines to make decisions that are not based upon any kind of scientific reality. So if you want to hear more about how we as scientists actually do and interpret the data, let me know in the chat because I'm hoping to share how scientists actually do their job more often so that you can understand the nuance in the headlines.